What is up, wonderful people of YouTube? Trashy here, and today we are back with another tips and tricks video for our Stardew series. I am trying out a new intro to my videos. Can you tell? It's fine, not everything needs to be perfect. We're just gonna leave it like that and continue with the video. Today, we are going to have a look at some tips and tricks for my favorite season in the game, fall. Fall is the prettiest of all the seasons, and it also happens to have some of the most profitable crops in the game. This season is usually all about prepping for winter, getting in as many crops harvested as possible before the cold rolls in, making sure your animals are taken care of, and some big old profits. If it's your first year, fall is probably when you're going to start making some really good money. Before we get started, as always, I am obligated to remind y'all that there is no wrong way to play Stardew Valley as long as you're having fun, and anybody that tells you that you're playing wrong is silly and you probably shouldn't listen to them, and I can't be any more rude than that or YouTube will yell at me. This video contains some late game spoilers and some 1.6 update spoilers, so definitely watch at your own discretion. And now that that's out of the way, let's just get right into it. So what exactly changes in fall? Well, the most obvious change occurs in the colors around the valley, turning to typical fall colors, which, in my opinion, are the best in the game. And of course, you have foraging, crop, and fishing changes. There is a lot to forage in fall. The main forageables that you can find around the valley are blackberries, common mushrooms, hazelnuts, and wild plums. Plus, you can find red mushrooms and chanterelles in the secret woods. The secret woods requires a steel axe or better to access, and if it's your first year, you should definitely have this upgraded by now. If you don't, now would be a great time to get that started. The biggest change in fall, if it's your first year, is access to the special orders board. On fall 2nd, when you enter Pelican Town, you will get a cutscene with Lewis and Robin putting up the board. Here, you can choose between 2 quests every single Monday to complete for specific rewards. I highly recommend checking the quest board every Monday and doing your best to complete a request for each villager, as they all unlock some pretty good items or recipes the first time you complete them, including the recipe for fiber seeds for easy fiber, the farm computer to easily check on your farm stats, and mini obelisks to quickly teleport around your farm, as well as many more useful things. There is a lot to do this season to prep for winter, and you will want to have as much energy as you possibly can going into it. If you're struggling with energy still during your first year, you can check out my spring and summer videos, which should be on the screen right now or down below in the description, and they have a couple of tips on how to make the most of your energy and how to find a couple of extra star drops. Speaking of star drops, you will want to get your hands on a rare seed as soon as possible. These seeds can be sold at the traveling cart on Fridays and Sundays, but they only grow in fall and they take 24 days to grow. One seed produces 1 sweet gemberry, and they sell for quite a lot, but honestly, they're not a great moneymaker at all when you take into account that they take so long to grow and they cannot be processed into wine or any other artisan good. And on top of that, even with a base selling price of 3,000 gold, these berries are still considered a neutral gift for all villagers. Plus, you can only buy 1 seed from the cart at a time, so even with seed makers, it's still not a great moneymaker. The actual reason you want to plant at least one of these is because little old Master Cannoli in the woods is searching for the sweetest taste, of course. Bring him a sweet gemberry and you will get a star drop for your troubles, which increases your maximum energy by 34. If it's your first year, by now, you should definitely be a high enough farming level to make yourself some quality sprinklers and just let your farm do its thing. And if you've been frequenting the Skull Caverns for Iridium or checking Krobus's shop in the sewer on Fridays, you should also have access to Iridium sprinklers. Speaking of the Skull Cavern and Iridium, if you want some pointers on how to get the most out of your Skull Cavern runs, you can check out this video, which should be somewhere on the screen or in the description below, for some late game tips and tricks that got me over 1,000 Iridium ore in just one run. So like we mentioned briefly before, fall is easily the most profitable season when it comes to farming. The best crop, hands down, for planting during fall is cranberries. They take just 7 days to grow, and then they keep producing every 5 days after that, making for a total of 5 maintenance-free harvests throughout the season if you plant them on the first day. They're also the most expensive fall seed to buy at 240 gold apiece, so if you're running low on money, maybe your best option is either pumpkins or grapes. Pumpkins make slightly more money than grapes, but need to be replanted and cost 100 gold each, whereas grapes still make a solid 16 to 17 gold a day. They regrow and they only cost 60 gold. This next one technically isn't a crop, but there are still many reasons to grow it. Fairy rose seeds can be bought from Pierre just like crops, and aside from turning normal honey into fairy rose honey when planted near bee houses, which makes for a nice profit, these flowers are used in late game to make one of the most powerful items in the game, fairy dust. Fairy dust can be used on machines and refining equipment to make them instantly finish whatever they're doing. Before the 1.6 update, crafting was the only way to get fairy dust, but since 1.6 there's actually multiple new ways to obtain this item even before learning the recipe. Still, it can be useful to start stocking up on these fall flowers early on so that you have a nice supply when you eventually unlock the recipe. On the 16th of fall, you have the Stardew Valley Fair to look forward to. There are many different things to do at the fair, and the idea here is to win enough star tokens to purchase items from the store. If it's your first year, you'll be able to buy a whole star drop for 2,000 star tokens and increase your maximum energy, as well as a prize ticket for an additional 1,000 star tokens that can be bought every single year. Aside from that, Pierre's shop also stocks some decorations, a fedora, a rare crow, and a rotating selection of items, including a glowstone ring for 1,000 tokens. Obviously, you'll want to buy the star drop and the prize ticket, but you'll also want to save up enough tokens to get the rare crow, and we'll talk about why in a little bit. The easiest way to get a quick 1,000 tickets is to put on an outstanding Grange display, which is the main event of the fair. You will need to bring 9 items with you for the display, and the more varied the better. Lewis judges each display based on item category diversity and quality. By category, I mean this little tag that appears underneath item names when you hover over them, such as animal products, fish, fruit, minerals, etc. And by quality, I mean normal, silver, gold, and iridium, as well as selling price. Basically, you want to bring along 9 different items of the highest quality and sell price that you can in order to get 1,000 tokens. Even if you don't come first, you will still get tokens for placing second, third, and fourth. And there's also another secret hidden outcome. If you put Mayor Lewis's shorts in your display, he will disqualify you, but he will bribe you with 750 tokens to keep you quiet. Unlike other events, interacting with Lewis afterwards won't send you home, so you can put his shorts up there if you want, have him judge your display, and then go check out the other attractions. Speaking of, let's have a look at what they do. The fishing minigame costs 50 gold to play, and if you do a perfect game, which means catching as many fish as possible during the time allotted and getting perfect catches for more points, you can get over 800 tokens from just one game. The slingshot minigame also costs 50 gold, and it's super fun, with points scored based on accuracy and the color of the target hit. You can get around 500 tokens maximum for a perfect game of this, so it's not quite as profitable as the fishing minigame, but it's more fun in my opinion. The spinning wheel, however, is where the true tokens are at. Some very smart people have done some digging into the game code and figured out that the spinning wheel is almost 3 times more likely to land on green than orange every single time. It also has a chance to speed up and fall on your chosen color depending on your luck level that day, but even without this extra chance, going with green is almost always going to give results. Just don't use all of your tokens in one go. Of course, you can also just buy star tokens from the token seller for 50 gold each if you have the money, or if you have all day long, you can play the smashing stone and test your strength for a whopping 1 star token if you hit the top. Fun fact, you also get 1 star token for hitting the minimum strength too. Aside from all that, you can also visit the fortune teller in her tent. For 100 gold, she will give you some information on the 2 NPCs at the top of your friends list, and she'll make some sort of comment on your highest leveled skill. That's about it for the fair, but it is also worth noting that after the fair itself, Halloween pumpkins will spawn outside some of the houses in town, and little lanterns will spawn in the graveyard. If you wanted to be a little menace to society, you could go around and steal every single pumpkin and lantern and keep them on your farm, but surely nobody would do that, right? Right? Speaking of pumpkins, on the night of fall 27th, you will be invited to celebrate Spirits Eve in Pelican Town. Unlike most other festivals, this one starts at 10 p.m, and the town is inaccessible before the festival starts, so if you have any plans to go to the beach on the 27th, you might want to move them or use a beach totem. Just make sure to keep a farm totem on you for the return trip, or you will be stuck there until 10 p.m. If you're in the late game, you might also have the Return Scepter, which you can buy from Krobus for 2 million gold, that allows you to just teleport home whenever you feel like it, or you might have purchased the community upgrades from Robin and unlocked the shortcut underneath Leah's house. The Spirits Eve festival itself consists of some Halloweeny decorations and themes, as well as Pierre's usual stall where he sells jack-o'-lanterns, the recipe for jack-o'-lanterns, a gravestone, a funky rug, and a rare crow. If you do plan on buying the jack-o'-lantern or the recipe, keep in mind that they will turn into garbage on the first day of winter, so maybe keep them for next year. Also, speaking of rare crows, I haven't mentioned this in previous videos, but if you are aiming for perfection down the road and you want to achieve it without buying perfection slips, Buy every single rare crow from every single festival. The reason you want to do this early on is because one of the requirements for perfection is to craft every single craftable recipe, and one of those recipes is a deluxe scarecrow, which is only unlocked after you collect all 8 rare crows, most of which are bought at festivals, so try and snatch them up when you can. The main feature of Spirits Eve is the maze, and just like the rest of festivals, Spirits Eve is different on even and odd years. On odd years, including your first, you will get a basic maze with a golden pumpkin at the end, and on even years, the maze is slightly more complicated and rewards players with prize tickets, redeemable at Lewis's house for some goodies and unique items. The trick to both of these mazes is to find a signpost with a question mark on it. You'll find a secret passage nearby which will eventually lead you to your prize. In previous versions of the game, you had to make your way back through the maze to get out, but since 1.6, we now have a minecart shortcut at the end of the maze to help save some time. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about winter and how to prepare for it. Winter in Stardew Valley might seem like the slowest season with a lack of crops and your animals being forced to stay indoors, but there is actually a lot to do, and there are a few things that you can get done by the end of fall to make your winter easier. We mentioned this briefly in the summer tips video, but you will want to upgrade your barn and your coop to the deluxe version before winter in order to get the auto feeder function. Your animals won't go outside in the winter, so the auto feeder keeps them fed without having to visit them every single day. You might also want to purchase a couple of heaters to have at the ready, because just like people, animals get cold during the winter, and having a heater in your coop and barn can keep them happier and regularly producing. This is also a great time to start stocking up on hay so that your auto feeders don't run out. If you have a lot of animals, make sure to get an extra silo or two and either harvest yourself some hay or buy it straight from Marnie. Grass doesn't die during the winter anymore with the 1.6 update, but it does stop growing and it is a lot less likely to produce hay when cut with a scythe. Speaking of upgrades, fall might also be a great time to get a couple of upgrades in on your pickaxe so that when winter rolls around, you have an easier time frequenting the mines. When it comes to crops, if it's your first year, unlocking the greenhouse before winter, or at the very least during the first week of winter, is highly recommended so that you can keep planting throughout the rest of the year. The greenhouse is pretty straightforward to unlock and can easily be done before winter in year 1 if you keep it in mind. If you're doing the community center, you will need to make sure to grow the necessary crops in each season, as well as have a coop and barn up and running to get animal produce and artisan products for the respective bundles. It's also worth keeping in mind that both the artisan and animal bundles give the player options to choose from, so you can choose to donate the items that suit you best. If you chose the Fruit Bat Cave, this is incredibly helpful for the Artisan bundle because the bats drop all of the tree fruit needed for that particular bundle. If you miss any of the crops, you might have to wait until next year rolls around, or you could also get lucky at the traveling cart and find exactly what you need, but if you stay on top of it, it can definitely be unlocked before winter. Of course, if you're doing the Jojo Mart route, then you can unlock it in no time at all because you basically just have to pay for it and you're good. Speaking of completing the greenhouse, once that's done, you have a 10% chance of getting a random windstorm every single night afterwards, which knocks down the big tree in Cindersap Forest and leaves behind a giant stump. Once the tree falls, you can fix the stump up for 100 hardwood and a friendly raccoon will move in. This raccoon asks you for a bunch of different items before he starts growing his family, and most of his requests involve using some sort of processing machine, so you should definitely work on getting your hands on all of these machines. For example, you can get the recipe for the fish smoker at Willie's and the dehydrator at Pierre's. The raccoon will give you 9 quests in total before his family is finished, and he will keep giving quests after for some pretty good rewards, including the fairy dust that we mentioned earlier. When the raccoon's wife moves in after his first request, she opens up a shop that unlocks more items as you complete the following 8 requests. This last one, again, isn't really a tip, it's more of a very weird special event that's hidden in fall. So in Stardew Valley, you can marry an NPC and you can eventually go on to have children with them. If for whatever reason you get tired of your spouse, you can actually divorce them using this book in Lewis's house for 50,000 gold. However, if you want to go one step further, and this is Dark Urge levels of messed up, if you know, you know, you can turn your children into doves using the Shrine of Selfishness. If you go down this road, there are a few things that can randomly happen around the valley to reflect this change. For example, you might have a telephone in your house and you might receive a chilling phone call, or, very specifically, on fall 26th, you might find a strange channel on the TV that, when chosen, says, "You've brought this upon yourself, now I'm free," and an ancient doll pops out of the TV. If you return to the Shrine of Selfishness after this, you will find a cursed ancient doll hanging around the shrine that attacks you on sight. You can dispatch it pretty easily, but it respawns whenever you enter the hut. And interestingly enough, it counts as a bat when it comes to monster eradication goals and for other quests such as Clint's special order for killing bats. And that's about it for this video. There are so many tips and tricks and tidbits that I have accumulated for y'all that didn't make it into these past 3 videos, because I'm keeping them for the winter video, which is coming soon, which is when most players have more time to spend around the valley aside from farming and tending to their animals. Thank you all so much for watching. If you made it this far, please consider subscribing and all that fun stuff. And in case you didn't know, I also stream over on Twitch. I stream a lot of Stardew Valley, but I also stream a lot of other games. It really depends on what I'm feeling that day. Sometimes we do some horror games, sometimes we have special events, 12-hour streams, charity streams. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, definitely stop by. I love interacting with my chat and interacting with my community, so I would love to see you there. Please do keep in mind that my streams on Twitch are for viewers aged 18 and above because of my inability to not swear a ton in a live environment, and also because we sometimes talk about topics that are not suited for younger viewers. I hope to see y'all there, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye!